All right. This is another episode, a live stream version of the Critical Introvert Show. I'm your host, Senor Filth. I'm joined by the usual benevolent asshole. We got a couple of returning guests plus a new guest. We have Alexandra Castle, Luke Rawlings, who's been on before, and we have a new guest on. We have Kevin Ross. If you want to introduce yourself.
I'm Kevin Ross.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you and Luke are doing this United Reunited States thing.
Reunited States.
I guess if you want to just sort of explain kind of what that is.
Do you want to explain, or am I supposed to explain?
Whoever wants to.
Yeah.
What we're doing? We're trying to get people to make a stand against everything that's going on, because the government's clearly not wanting. They're not going to be playing by the rules. They're not listening to us at protests, going to making appeals to the boards. I mean, they're getting the FBI going to get parents. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is get everybody to build a network that can where we just ignore the government, like these mandates. We don't acknowledge them, and we meet in front of their buildings and plan around what they're doing.
Yeah.
In front of them, and show them that they don't matter.
I mean, have you found any success so far from what you guys have been doing lately, or is it still?
Well, Kevin just jumped on with me the other day, but we're I've gotten in touch with a lot of people. I've gone around the country getting in touch, getting to know with, getting to know what's really going on in the country.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think all of it's been a success so far.
Yeah.
I mean, there's everywhere I go, there's people that are ready to do something. Like, there's groups, every single city has it. There's always a group, and they need to just combine and coordinate. And if we do that, then there's nothing that can stop us.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, can you think of an example of of anyone offering some kind of help?
Kevin?
No, I mean, I would say that just recently people started kind of putting together these places to get information as far as businesses you can go to that aren't going along with these mandates, as well as hiring people that aren't
Vaxxed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I just started seeing stuff like this, and this is something Luke and I talked about. Like, this is the information that needs to get out to people, because people feel like they don't have any options, and it's either do this or get fired, and you can't take care of your family. So if there's a place where people know they can go to get this information, to ask questions, to talk to people, to get the information necessary to maybe find a new job, or businesses to support, places to shop. I think one of the biggest things is to, like most things, is you got to vote with your dollar, spend money at the places who are supporting these things and are supporting people's freedoms, not these corporations that are just destroying everything. But unfortunately, you're only going to be able to go to what you know about. So a lot of times it's like, oh, I got to get this, so I'm just going to go online and get it on Amazon.
Yeah.
They're one of the biggest problems in the world because of I think just getting that information out is such a vital aspect of all this. And there really isn't anywhere to go to find that. And I think that's what's really difficult for people, because they feel so isolated and alone and don't have any resources. So you're left in a position where you just kind of have to go along, because that's the only way to survive.
Yeah.
And it also opens up new business opportunities for people that are, would have never otherwise done it. And, because there's plenty of people. I would say that there's probably fewer businesses that would be able to accommodate all the people to handle their jobs. I think that a lot of people will have to step up, and I think it's going to end up being what takes us away from capitalism, because there'll be so many small businesses that'll arise as a consequence
Mm-hmm.
of just the networking and depending on each other.
Yeah. Hmm. Uh. Yeah, man. I I'm already drawing a blank.
Honestly, I see a lot. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead. You're good.
Honestly, I see a lot of small businesses opening up right now because of what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
but the problem I'm seeing is that a lot of people are going into one category. A lot of people are going into, the t-shirt category, or they're going into the mug category, or they're going into, you know,
But I think a lot of that is because they think that that's what their options are limited to. If they see that there's
exactly.
opportunity, that there's a market for anything, really, right now, the way things are, if you come up with a product, if it's good, you appeal to this market, you're a sure thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why are we not? We were talking about Amazon earlier, and Kevin's right. I needed a USB 2.0 cable, and I went on Amazon to buy it because I needed it right then and there, and I needed it come tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, why aren't we doing that? Why aren't small businesses getting stock for everyday things that we need and kind of pulling together? Like, I think what's his name? My Pillow guy.
Oh,
What's
I can't remember his name, but
Mike
yeah, I know you're
Lindell.
talking about.
The guy with the mustache.
Yeah.
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 Oh my god, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank.
Frank.
I can't
Is
remember.
it Frank or
Or
Frank Lindell?
Mike
or-
Lindell.
Oh, Mike Lindell.
Yeah.
Mike Lindell.
Lindell.
Yeah.
I said
Mike
Lindell.
He looks like a Frank.
Yeah.
His name is Mike Lindell.
Yeah.
He was supposed to open something called My Store, something that was supposed to act like an Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
but I haven't really seen it advertised. I tried to access it a few times, wasn't able to, but why are we just limiting it to? I know people think that that's the only option they have, but why are we limiting it to that? Why can't we think of
Because it's the
something bigger?
easiest and most convenient.
You mean as far as
That's
like
what makes them have a superior product, and it's great, but it does hurt everyone else. That's why everybody still uses it regardless, because they don't have another real option, because no one thinks that. But if a good product were to come up and appeal to the right market, then I mean, and it can go across anything. It's not just narrowing it down to that's. I'm agreeing with what you're saying. I'm just.
Are you speaking just the only thing people can do is making shirts and stuff like that, as far as like on a creative level, or
Sorry, you cut out. What did you say?
when you said like the only thing that people are doing are making shirts and mugs, is that you mean like just on a creative level, like the only thing people are doing right now, or
Well, that's what I see. And that's what I see there is a market for it. Because there's such a
Mhm.
large market for it, it's a lot of fast fashion.
Mhm.
And I see people entering the industry every day, and I'm not trying to bash any of these small businesses. I think it's wonderful that they're doing something they're passionate about.
Yeah.
But I stopped to think today, and I said to myself, a lot of the t-shirts that they're buying, and some that I even buy for my own customers, I don't know what the company's values are. I don't know, if they're forcing their employees to get vaccinated. Um, and then I found one that's based in New Jersey, and of course the price point is much higher because it's completely made in the USA. I was
Yeah.
actually talking to Luke about this
Yeah.
when we were trying to get his shirts printed.
Mhm.
And it cuts into the margin so much that you have to raise the price to make anything, even just a few dollars.
Yeah.
And that's really the biggest problem, I think, right now, because nobody we're consumers,
Mhm.
so we don't want to buy, one product that is $40, $50. We want to buy a few products that are $10 each.
Yeah.
And I think what we have to do is we have to put more emphasis onto a quality versus quantity type approach if we're going to make this succeed.
Yeah, there is going to need to be a huge marketing campaign behind a lot of this stuff. I was thinking about that earlier today. Like, because I think that would help tremendously in each avenue, just, I don't know, I'm kind of, I haven't fully formed this part of the plan yet, but
Yeah. I mean, are you looking at Reunited States to be like a creative kind of agency, or just something people can just sort of find work?
I wanted to have a multifunction. I want it to be the place that people go to, connect, to, communicate with. I mean, that's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm trying to say? Like, where
Yeah.
it's just like a hub of everything for people, where it's the heart behind the movement. Once it gets to a certain point, it'll take on a life of its own, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Once they start networking together, and then we use it at least as a stepping stone.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think, because I think one thing you guys have to do is sort of like, I don't know if you guys ever seen a movie called Videodrome, but it's a weird '80s horror movie. But in the movie, the main character, he runs like this sleazy network that shows like softcore porn. But anyways, the point is that he's offering something just generally different from the mainstream whatever the hell they're giving out. Um, I think you guys have to just sort of focus on offering something that's just generally different. Like with this show, my goal is to just offer people that are into the creative world, like whether music or art, just some kind of different perspectives. Because I know there's artists that are all over the place as far as what they politically believe in and stuff like that, or some that just don't give a fuck and they just want
I
to make
think
their
that
own
artists
stuff.
are going to be, vital to this entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, artists are responsible for every major movement, really.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's what opens people's eyes, and it's like Jordan Peterson says, that art teaches people how to see.
Yeah.
Well, to
But
And that's
speak,
when you get, like, as I was having this conversation with the Marine rapper today,
mm-hmm.
during times like this, like, real art emerges when it wouldn't have otherwise. Like, you'll see some of the most, because I'm seeing it all over the place.
Yeah.
Some awesome stuff that's coming out right now. It's in all fields.
Yeah.
I think the arts are the key to it all, and so yeah, definitely gonna have that playing a big role on the website.
But I think you also have to
well,
like consider like just the idea of like selling whatever the story is that you guys want to sell. And I guess what maybe Alexandra's sort of touching on is like maybe look for other mediums, like through music, through I don't know, some kind of scripted skits or some shit like that. Just something within like a cultural, um, you know, I don't know, like a cultural zeitgeist that people can identify that it's outside of just shirts and stickers. I mean, I know that's all I can
well,
do at the moment, but
There,
like, so, like for example, I was looking for a special cable to
mm-hmm,
connect my computer to this printer I got. If I knew of a company that was patriotic, that
mm-hmm,
supported what we believe in, I would have gone to them instead.
yeah,
But the first thing I thought of was Amazon. That was the first thing I thought of. So why are we limiting small businesses to something that we create and craft? Why can't it be something where, you know, it is they have supplies that they can send out. They have everyday essentials that people normally buy on Amazon, but we buy it through these small businesses instead. Why are we limiting it to only the creative? Because I actually do agree with Luke. The creative and artists, art is extremely important. I mean, when Hitler came to power, he was the first one to confiscate all the art and to get rid of whatever he deemed didn't fit
Yeah.
his narrative. And there was a whole exhibit about this bizarre art that he didn't agree with. And I can't remember for the life of me what the name of it was. But anything abstract, anything made by Jews, he had it all there.
Yeah.
And why was it so important? Because it made a statement. Art is important.
Mm-hmm.
So while I do agree that we have to keep art alive, I think because everyone right now is also looking for everyday essentials, we have to find a way to have small businesses be able to almost act like an Amazon, but I guess, a small business who specializes in electronics, a small
Mm-hmm.
business who specializes in, I don't know, I can't think of another category right now because
Well, I'm sure that that stuff is
today.
out there. I'm sure there's people with that out there that just haven't thought to be able, haven't had a way to get it to enough people because Amazon is so dominant.
Yeah.
And so all of these things will feed off of each other, just because that's just the nature of it.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
also
that's what I
think.
was saying. You need a place to go to find these resources, a place that businesses can go to. They can add their website, they can add their information. So when you are looking for something, whether it's food, whether it's electronics, whatever the case may be, you can go to this website, this free place of freedom, and say, "Hey, I need to find these things." And sometimes they're going to be there, and sometimes they are. But at least it's a place to start, and you can do that sort of like how uh, Craigslist is. Like every
Mm-hmm.
state has its own thing, every city has its own thing, nationwide shipping as well, and you can break it down like that. But it all starts on a small heat with Amazon and anything like that. But if you can do it on a small scale, especially people that are passionate about this stuff, where they really want to make a difference, they can at least go to a place and see if that's where they can get what they're looking for, and if not, then they can't. But a place for people to start, a place where you can collect this information, these people, these corporations, these small businesses, and like this, these are the people that are speaking out and
Mm-hmm.
promoting freedom. And there's nowhere to really do that other than on a individual small scale, and you really have to intentionally seek these things out as opposed to there's a place where you can go, and this is where all this information is, this is where all these companies are, and now I got a place to start. And you can do that with everything from entertainment
Mm-hmm.
to art to music to food to clothing and everything else. So just creating a list or whatever the case may
Yeah.
be, a database of these things, I think is what is important, and kind of what we need. Like, where do I even go? Well, where do you live? Okay, these are what we have to offer, and a place that people can also upload their own information, businesses and people that they know of. So it just requires someone with the ability to create a database like that, and then you start sharing that, and it gains momentum, and more people come around, and people start to realize how big this community is. Because I think, if you go off of the news, you feel like this is just like a fringe
Yeah.
thing. But when you actually go out in the world, and when you
That's
travel around the country, you realize that the fringe things is the news.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Well, Gab.com. I don't know if anybody's on there. But I recently joined Gab because someone told me, he's a conservative marketer. He told me that a lot of conservatives have actually moved off of Instagram. They've deleted it entirely. All they use now is Gab. So to target a conservative audience, Gab is one of those places. They even have forums and boards
Mm.
with job postings that don't require the vaccine.
Yeah.
Job postings for conservatives who, want to maintain these freedoms. And I think researching, figuring that out, sending out messages to those people is really what's going to get us there. And of course, we need a website developer and an amazing coder. Anybody know anyone?
I do not. I'm sorry.
Yeah, me
Well,
neither.
I'm sure we can find somebody.
Yeah.
But like,
But
I think the important thing is not to like reach so high. I'm trying to like word it the best way I can, but like I was thinking the other day of like the idea of fame might be kind of just generally dead because if you want to be oh, if you want to be like I don't know, famous or within a creative world, like the idea of being like, top of the charts, all that shit, you're only gonna have to be that if you like play along with like you have to be a progressive, you have to play that line. If you want to be like an outsider, you have to be kind of relatively independent. I don't see any other way to do it.
well, who says we can't make our own chart?
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, if they want to go and they want to be ridiculous about this, look at Nikki. Okay,
Yeah.
she came out, she said one thing. She said one thing, and all of a sudden she's having death threats put against her. She's having media outlets come attack her, not physically, verbally.
Mm-hmm.
But so yeah, you're right. These you have to play along if you want to fit into the mainstream narrative.
Yeah.
But these fringe groups, there has to be a place for them to go to where there is the ability to have those kinds of charts to form a community, because right now we're spread out all over the place and they don't want us to be united.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, because
And
once you
that
get everyone
there's only
united,
one way to do it, and once we do it, then they can't do anything.
yeah.
But also,
All the elements are there to make this work. It's just we got to put them together.
yeah. But like I think we have to.
These topics on a Friday afternoon, like after the work week.
Yeah, but yeah, like I think we just have to generally be realistic and realize that it's gonna have to be on a small scale, but just to like have have a fan base, but just be outside of the mainstream. I think you guys will be sort of fine.
Why does it have to be on a small scale?
I mean, like you're
What
not
I want
gonna.
to know, why can't we shoot for the stars? I mean, even though it may be slow,
Mm-hmm.
I say you dream as big as you want,
I'm-
because that's the only way you're gonna make it.
I mean, on a like on an immediate level, like it could get big, but maybe in a far future, like within 10 to 20 years. But like I think you guys are, as long as you guys have like just a relatively devout following, and you're making a relatively nice living out of it, you should be okay. But I don't think you're gonna like recreate your own Grammys or anything like that. Or maybe you could, but
Yeah,
It's
I think
only as limited as you said it. So what do you think about this, Kevin?
hold on a second.
Yeah, I mean everything starts on a small scale, but you don't have to think small.
it's like the snowball. You can see ourselves like. I'm
No,
missing
I'm
something.
surprised,
What
Mark.
happened? I missed it.
What?
What just happened?
Sorry.
Go yell out the window.
Yeah, I was just yelling out the window. Someone was bugging me.
Oh.
What are you guys talking about?
Back to the conversation, please.
Sorry, keep moving the camera around, guys.
It's all right.
Well, I'm kind of hearing something like in the background too. I don't know, like if it's like another echo, another voice kind of going. Do you guys
When I
hear
talk?
that? Are you playing something in the background, Luke?
No, I had the phone in my hand. It was probably causing that.
So back to the ideas that you guys are talking about. I think you guys shouldn't hold back. Yeah, just keep throwing those ideas out there. Because even if you guys don't know exactly how you're going to achieve them,
Mm-hmm.
I think the good thing of having this live stream is that somebody else that is more capable or knows something or somebody is going to hear this But all the ideas you guys are throwing out there are really good. But I think having like a database of having, not it in a creative sense, but I would like to see, I don't know how this would happen, but having like a database with things like parts that are necessary, like appliances, like stuff for air conditioning, or
Okay,
like
cool.
for your washer, your dryer, because it seems that a lot of these warehouses are disappearing, and sometimes you're looking for certain parts and you
Mhm.
can't find them, or you have to go on Amazon and you're like, and you still can't find them. But I think this, instead of having to buy something, an appliance, like a brand new appliance, a brand new device, if there's more like a database of like patriotic Americans that have those parts available, where you just need to replace one thing, that's going to save a lot of people, especially when all of this is going on. So I don't know how it's going to happen, but throwing those ideas out there, somebody's going to hear it.
Yeah.
And it's like a snowball. Like we're like little snowballs, but like somebody else bigger than us
Everything takes a
is
spark.
gonna like, yeah.
I just got this mental image of all of our faces on snowballs like
Yeah.
rolling down the hill. I can't get it out of my head now. Look, you have to draw something. No, and it also goes to manufacturing. You know, right now there are I don't know the exact number, but there are a ton of ships off our coast waiting to dock with goods from foreign countries,
Yeah.
trying to bring over here, and they're not getting to the port. They're just out there in the ocean, floating along with all these cargo containers, and it's creating a shortage. Um, and everyone knows there's a bigger shortage is going to come.
Yeah.
And they basically made us dependent on these foreign agencies that don't always have the American interest at heart. So that's something we also have to keep in mind.
Mhm.
Like manufacturing, you know, going back to this whole t-shirts thing, because like again, it's Friday and I've got only a couple things on my mind from what I've been working on throughout the week. Why don't we have manufacturing for t-shirts here that we can get to such a level that we can get those prices down lower? Because
Well, that's one of the things that we need to do, is learn how to depend on each other more. Like everybody's gotten so dependent on the system that is just doing nothing but feed into a few hands, and the whole thing is designed to do that. But if you just network among yourselves, it creates its own system, and so then that will happen eventually, where we can do these things for those the lower prices, and to you know and it'll benefit each other more once we all depend on each other, because the only reason this country isn't entirely self-sufficient is because the government has made it so. I mean, we have the ability to do that entirely, and I'm not just talking about fossil fuels. I mean everything. We can feed our country, we can clothe our country, we can provide everything everyone here needs, but we don't. And there are people here that, if they're encouraged to do something more, then they will, and they can reach. I mean, this is what our country was founded on. If we can just get back to that.
Well, I think that's one of the good things, unfortunate good things about what's going on right now, is you are going to have to get back to that, because so many people aren't going to be able to shop at certain places. Some people are getting fired from their businesses, and all these people are going to have to create their own new community, and that's just going to be the way it's going. And that's kind of what's happening in the film industry right now. Is there's the corporate media, and then there's the fringe kind of underneath them, and the people that don't want to go along with this are having to go on that lower level, which is a smaller scale. But the more and more, this is just, that community is going to get larger and larger. So in some ways, these companies and these people starting these things are going to be at the beginning of this massive growth and this massive new culture and almost new world in a lot of ways, because people are having to break free from this system that we've all been kind of enslaved in, and we see where this is going, and the only way out of it is to create your own community. And of course that might not be as cheap. It might not be as convenient, but when it comes down to now, they're making it to where you don't really have a choice. So this is going to happen. It's just a matter of who's going to do it, when, where, and how.
That's true. I gotta run. Sorry to cut it short, but I hope to do this all again with you guys. Got a family dinner gotta go to. But it was nice to meet you, Kevin. It was great to see you. Great to see you, benevolent a-hole.
I'm here.
Family friendly name.
Yeah, and I can't remember your screen name.
Senor Filth.
What's your screen name?
Senor Filth.
What?
Senor Filth.
Yeah,
it's stupid, but
yeah, it's like an Inye.
Okay, Senor
Filth.
Okay, Phil. Okay, it was great talking to you all. I really hope we can connect again. Have a great weekend, and whoever's watching this, I hope there's somebody watching this. It was great talking, and see you guys around.
All right, see ya. Bye.
See ya.
Peace.
I guess that kind of makes me.
Yeah, last time I checked, I think.
Oh, go ahead.
Last time I checked, I think we have like 1K followers or watching right now.
Really?
I'm just kidding.
Really?
No, I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
I was. Is there a way to check? Is this being streamed on YouTube, right? So you could check like if you wanted to. I think.
Yeah. I haven't figured that out yet. Maybe next time.
That's fine.
I
mean, this is how we shoot every episode, anyways. Like everything is like freestyle.
Yeah.
It's not really rehearsed or anything.
But I was thinking, like, how do
they were rehearsed in the past?
Yeah. How do we convince people to at least give us a listen? Like, as far as the things that we're concerned about, that's one of the, that's one of the main things that I like. I've been trying to figure out, like, how do we get, like, just like your average
get
cousin
in front of them as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
You just gotta
you gotta fill a need and let them know that is what is being offered. People aren't going to tune in unless they know that something of value is being presented, or something that they hate and they just want to listen to the stuff they hate, because people do that too. So yeah, people either need to love it or hate it, and you got to give them a reason to do one of either.
But it seems like everything is so politicized that every time you take a position on something, it's you're immediately thought to like be like trying to proselytize them into like some political ideology, instead of just like saying, I have these concerns and it's not partisan. Can you hear me out? Like, oh, you're just a right winger, QAnon kind of shit. And like, I'm trying to figure out like how do we break that out of people? Because like everything is being so partisan. It feels like it's mostly pushed by one side. But go ahead.
I feel like while there are pockets of that, I think that mostly exists only online. Like in what I've seen, when I drove around the country, like aside from LA and in a few parts of New Mexico, but that was a different kind of attitude. I mean, everybody, is fine with each other.
Yeah.
Like for the most part. I mean, it's like Kevin said. What is it that you said? It's like reality versus or reality TV versus reality.
Yeah, it's like when that's what's allowed these corporations to control everyone, because if all you do is watch TV, if all you do is watch the news, if all you do is look on Instagram or Twitter, you get a very skewed perspective of reality and of the general population. This is a small percentage and an extreme percentage. The people that are saying stuff is usually going to be on a far side or another, and then everyone else just chimes in along with whatever section of that they align themselves with. But the more that people are speaking and communicating and not saying this is only a one-sided thing, because there's a spectrum in all this stuff.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we're only shown the extreme side of every spectrum, and every extreme side is a negative thing. And the more that we can communicate and share ideas with all sides, I think that is the one thing that really is missing, is a neutral place for people to communicate, because you're either on this extreme side or the other, and there's only kind of options for one or the other. Like if you're on this one, you watch this news channel. If you're on this one, you watch this news channel, or you're viewing these things on online. And then these conversations need to happen, and these debates need to happen, even if it's with particularly if it's with people you don't agree on, because there's good sides to everything, and these ideas need to be shared, and that's why they're being so censored, and why they're being forced into these extremes, because that makes it to where we're not going to communicate.
Yeah, but
Yep.
also it's become a thing where, like, every time the idea of two different perspectives going, like, just have, like, the idea of just having a conversation seems to, like, I don't know, be sort of it's always viewed as just like a fight or a debate. Like there's never just two sides just talking it out, just having a conversation. It's always
Well,
just
unfortunately, they played into that, just like they do with combat sports. Is they know that they'll get more views, so they encourage that kind of extreme behavior. We hate each other. We don't get along. We're on polar sides of a situation, because that's what people watch. That's why people watch the news. You don't see this neutrality in anything. And I think that's something that needs to get brought back, is communication and conversations, and debates that aren't fights. They're actual a sharing of ideas, and expanding on things that are so narrow.
Yeah, I don't think the perspectives are really that different from like one group or to the other. It's just like it's only different in name.
Yeah.
It's like the perspectives are we're like a lot more alike. Everybody's a lot is more alike than we like to think. It's just like in name. As soon as you hear the name, oh, he watches this or he watches that or he belongs to that, and it's very short sighted. And the thing is, people need to take the time to listen to each other, and longer than like 5 minutes, like 15 or more minutes, and you'll get like a better idea of like who you're talking to or their perspective on things.
The proof that all I needed to know was whenever I would go out, when I talk to people, if they think that, I ask them if they believe in vaccine mandates. If they say yes, I ask them what they think should happen to the people that aren't vaccinated.
Yeah.
And nobody can give like a real answer. They don't. I was like, do you want them to get arrested? No. Nobody really wants things bad to get that bad. Like, just they don't think it through. Like, where's this gonna end up going?
Yeah, it's very short-sighted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing that like I'm worried about with the, I don't know, you call it, like, the mainstream left or whatever. It's like they just latch on to an idea that just sounds good or sells well, but they don't like think of the domino effects that would take place if you implement that idea. They're very like, oh, this sounds good, and I'll just move on and just root for it. But there's no like, all right, if this law happens, how it'll affect these people and how it'll affect that. Like,
yeah,
it's hard.
Like it's.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, it's like Thomas Sowell once said, it's like no solutions, there's only trade-offs. So whatever it is that you're gonna choose in terms of like anything political, it's like you're gonna trade. Not any one choice is gonna be perfect or ideal. You're always gonna be trading off something for something else. But back to like the whole thing, like it's all these things that they're are very short-sighted in terms of like, okay, we want to end racism, but at what cost? Like, are you going to give up all your rights and all this other stuff? And same thing with Black Lives Matter. Seems very innocuous. Yeah, like who doesn't like believe in that? But like, if you actually listen to what they really believe in, like, no, like I believe in Black Lives Matter, but not the whole agenda that they have attached to that. But people don't see it through. They just see the facade of it.
Yeah, but it seems like people would rather like win an argument than just have a conversation, and that's the frustrating thing about all this. It's like, you know, like there was a girl at work a few months ago. She was talking about what's her name, Coney Barrett or whatever, that Supreme Court judge. And I was just overhearing her, like she was just, like she was saying negative things about her. And I don't really care that much about the judge herself, but I was just curious, like what her concerns were. And it was very like she just got like a Twitter feed and she was just reciting what the Twitter feed told her. And I was just like, can you name any examples of what you're talking about? And like she got flustered and like took it as me trying to like start some argument or something like that. And I was just like, this isn't a big thing. I'm just curious, this isn't me trying to attack you, but like for the common person, it looks like they're drifting more into that, like if you question my things, you're somehow trying to attack me or my beliefs. And like I don't know how you sell, like, just how do you sell compromise nowadays, which seems really worrying.
I mean, you also live in the land of the extreme, so
yeah, that's true.
I people aren't as unreasonable everywhere, but I mean, I think that they're doing that too, because I think a lot of it is the environment is becoming, if you don't, object to anything that goes against it, then that means it's going to come back to you. You're going to get aligned with that person. So
yeah,
and then when you have situations like this where it's in the media promoting extremes, you're going to encourage a few more out of the woodwork. So it's going to seem like it's more of an issue than it really is. But I mean, like, if it came down to it, do you think that person that refuses to lose an argument would agree to you getting locked up, or like at least want you to be locked up for your thoughts?
That's the thing. Like, I'm worried that they might be fine with it if like they view things so extremely.
I don't believe that most people are like that.
Or not that
I don't.
Not that they want it, but they would be fine or not question if it happened. If that makes sense. Yeah, because.
Yeah, I think I could see that. Like somebody just being dragged out of their house, like, oh, you didn't get vaccinated, let me just drag you out of the house. And I can see some people just being, oh, okay, well, he didn't get vaccinated.
Yeah,
so
well, it's not my problem.
Like, well, it's not my problem.
Yeah.
Or at least over here in LA, like I can see that happening.
That's another thing, though. That this is gonna occur more and more. If we don't do something, it will spread. I mean, this is how things have happened in the past. I mean, this is not, we've got to do something now before it gets that way. And I think there are enough people, while yes, there are more extremes out there, there are also more people realizing that the extremes are what's causing this. And they want to say something, but they're too afraid to say something. They want to take action. They don't know how to take action. And so I think that you're going to see that, but I think that if we band together, you'll see less of it.
Yeah, and that's why I think that's one thing that is good about creating these resources for people to support, because in order for you to speak out, you have to be willing to be demonized for it. So people aren't willing to publicly say, hey, I don't like what's going on here. This is fucked up. But with just buying things and supporting things, you can stay relatively anonymous as opposed to actually speaking out and sharing things on social media or whatever. Because the problem is, with anything you're going to speak out against, you're immediately going to get magnetized toward the extremist side of that and be like, oh, you think this is okay? What's going on here? And then like, what about this? What about this? What about this? And so people, I would say a large majority of people aren't okay with the extreme things that are going on, but they're not willing to say anything, because if they do, they're going to get latched right into that group. And that's what you're seeing a lot happen with like these athletes and stuff. When as soon as they say something, they realize they're immediately polarized onto that side. And all I was doing was asking a question, but you see what happens when you ask a question. You're immediately with them now. Yeah. People don't want to do that, and people aren't willing to give up their livelihoods, because that unfortunately that's kind of the way it is right now. So to be able to create a place where people can show their support, but without having to risk losing everything that they have, I think is a start with something, giving people the ability to do that, because clearly it doesn't work with votes.
Yeah. Any attempt to change things in the, using the system we have now is an exercise in futility. I mean, there's no point in it. I mean, they're not going to allow anything that you want to happen that goes against their wishes. It's so corrupt on every single level.
Yeah, unfortunately, and each time it just gives them further confirmation that you can do whatever they want. They can get away with it. They can show you right in your face that they're fucking with you, and what you can do about it.
I mean, how do you guys think like this could end? Like on a positive note, like do people just need to like live like the Amish and fucking?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the only way for this to truly end on a positive note is for there almost to be another subsect of society and communities, and whether that's state to state or just cities, or I see that more happening but who knows, because it's all going to be a matter of like how much control there is over everything, and who, that's what makes it tough, is because they are controlling the media, they are controlling social media, they are controlling the way that we connect with each other, and the more that people feel isolated and alone, the more they're willing to just go along to get along.
Oh man.
Yeah, at this point, like I'm almost okay with like the big major cities just like sinking to hell. I think a lot of people just need to move out, even if it's just like a few miles out of the city.
I think a lot of things are coming that are going to make people have to do things that they wouldn't want to do, like some things that are uncomfortable doing, like moving. So, I mean, I do think that it's going to come to that eventually. If we don't, I mean, unless for this miracle worked where everything happened in days, like everybody's like, yes, you're right.
Yeah.
But especially if things keep going the way they are, it's going to end up being a way. But like, people will be moving. They'll have to do things they don't want to do. Especially with shortages coming. Alexandra was talking about that. That's the farmers and stuff too. There's opportunity for them too, though, because that'll if they can just farm their land without having to worry about what the government's going to say to them and like come and take their crops or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. There's going to have to be like a new America.
If we do this right, we can build a system where everybody is benefiting. Anyone that gets involved in it benefits from it. And I mean, if we build off of that, it'll get hard. There might be some rough patches, but at the end of it, what we can build from that can be greater than what we were before. And we do it together.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, but it's hard to think positively sometimes.
Well, I was going to say, like, for like anybody, if anybody is watching and you were like a little bit curious about like looking into like things, don't be afraid to think differently or like look into things maybe you might not agree with. A lot of times this is based off of like how their personality. And a lot of times people don't like certain people just because of their personality or what they look like, and they don't take the time to actually look into things. Don't be afraid to look into things, and especially because the media has done like such a good job at creating these boogeymen on both sides, and that's why people don't look into things. Says, "Oh no, I don't want to be associated with this or with that." And every time it's funny because every time like they start doing like some really bad things, or the government starts getting under fire, they always create these false flags, or like somebody in Congress gets attacked, or like
Yeah.
Their garage door gets painted on, and or something, or like somebody supposedly plays like a bomb, or sent somebody like a bomb, and it's
Yeah.
just, and I can hear my voice echo as soon as I said that. I'm only saying things if I'm not saying anything. But
Yeah.
don't be afraid to look into it, and if you are, just make sure you guys use DuckDuckGo, because you know what they just said recently, right? Like they're gonna look into like what you're
Like you search,
searching.
right?
So
Yeah.
so that's
I
just
heard
like
that if you type Google into the Google search, you can break the internet. Nobody's seen the IT crowd, the IT crowd.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead. My wife and I are just watching that.
I was waiting because like he froze for a second, like Mr. Seniorfeld.
I did.
I was like, is he okay?
Also, I think a lot of it too,
Yep.
with like just the general conversation of things, it feels like one side is trying to talk about things that are broader about freedom and, things like that, and the other side wants to like just pigeonhole everything into like a morality thing, and like a like if you take COVID for example, like I'm just worried about the freedom aspect of it, but the other side just considers like freedom to be selfish. Like, how the fuck did that happen? Like, is that just a conditioning thing, or?
Well, they gave people a reason to rationalize it. They said all these people are dying, and if you don't go along with it, you're killing them. And they pump that into people's brains 24 hours a day until eventually they just believe that. And just like with every other horrible thing that's ever happened, you do that enough, and people will go along with it. And you skew things in a certain light, they'll believe anything. And unfortunately, that's like the majority of humanity. Is they're not gonna make themselves uncomfortable, and they're not gonna put themselves out there enough to get fired or hurt. Or why do you think when people are like murdered in broad daylight, nobody does anything, nobody says anything, nobody even stops?
Yeah.
Because that's the general human nature, and that's you can't change that. And that's why so many of these things are so difficult and so slow, particularly if you don't have these gigantic companies behind you pushing this information out there, because people will just go along with what they're told, what they're led to believe. And you could say that about really anything, whether it's science, health, religion, and everything else. That's just human nature, unfortunately. But hopefully, you get enough people at least questioning things and looking at things, as opposed to just going along with what they're told. But it's like that information has to get out there and available for people, or
Yeah.
else they really just don't have any options unless they're really against everything.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird to see like just noticing like the messaging like so all over the place but works so well. Um like I don't know, like 2 weeks ago I went to see that movie Shang-Chi, and it was nice to just see a movie for the first time in the theaters. But then there was this scene where they go like into a fight club, and just like there's one specific shot, and like there's like two people right here and they have masks, and I just had this realization like there's gonna be like an era of entertainment like where there's just gonna be characters wearing masks, and it's gonna be like just all over the place, and it's unescapable, and it's gonna be
But
such a
like the thing is, this is obvious to people now, but this is what's always been done with everything:
yeah.
programming, movies, television, music.
Yeah.
All these things they're pushing certain agendas in order to get the populace to go along with a certain thing, and people think that they have free will, and they just don't, unless they're willing to question that. Unless you're willing to question and look elsewhere besides what is being offered, because what is being offered is all controlled.
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause it's just a bummer, man. Because
Yeah, it's a bummer.
it's gonna be something just watching like the next wave of like movies and television where like there's gonna be people wearing masks. Like there's gonna be like a rom-com movie and like people have masks
I
in it and
was
shit.
thinking about that. I feel like the quality, because there has been an increase. While I hate the forced messaging that they put in everything, but the
Yeah.
quality of television programming since all these other streaming services popped up and challenged the regular shows, the quality of each show has gotten way better. Storytelling wise, there's not throwaway episodes, and
Yeah.
and that's used as an example, but I lost where I was going with that.
Well, it's like even in that situation, you have to give challenge these things. The only way to challenge them is to start your own things,
Yeah.
because if
Yeah.
not, people just one, they don't have any options. Like there is nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
So in order for there even to be another place, those things have to be created. And I do think they are more and more. And the more this happens, the more people that realize that they're on the chopping block too, and they will be the next wave of whatever the issue is.
Mm-hmm.
The more these things are going to happen. It's like the more doctors and nurses that get fired, the more they're going to have to just start their own hospitals and their own facilities. And I think a lot of this is going to go back to how things were in the beginning of this country and every other country, is things on a small scale,
Mm-hmm.
more small businesses and communities getting together and working together, because more and more I believe people are going to, it's hard to ignore who's in control of things and who's pushing things.
Yeah.
I think they're doing a good job confusing people at the moment, but eventually it's going to get to a point where you're not going to be able to ignore it anymore. Like right now, it's like, if you're not really looking at what's going on in the rest of the world, it's easy to say that it's only this little thing. It's only a mask. It's only this one vaccine, and then we'll be fine. But then, if you really look around at what is happening and where all this leads to, particularly Australia, you at least got to start questioning. This is never going to end. It's only going to get worse if you just keep going along with it. And by going along with it, you're complicit in what's happening.
But how do we convince people like where they find like their moment, or we're like, all right, this is enough. I'm done with this. Like.
Is that an example?
I think just sharing. All you can really do is share information, because you can't force people to do anything.
Yeah.
And the more you try to push it down people's throats, the more you're going to get the opposite result. And unfortunately, that's the case with a lot of things, particularly if you don't have this major backing or public pressure or anything like that. Is all you can do is open the door for people, offer them the information, try to give them unbiased information, and the more you do that, the more people, at least you got to plant the seed in people's brains, but you can't force it to grow, or you can't force them to look at it. All you can do is try to promote whatever the opposite of the thing you're trying to fight is.
Yeah. Because I've tried like talking to people and just asking like, okay, when are you done with this? Like, is there any announcement that you're waiting for? Some test result? Like, when are you just gonna like be fine and just go about your day, your life? But like no one can fucking answer
I'd
that.
say don't stop asking them.
Yeah.
But don't be like a jerk about it.
Yeah, try not to be. I really
have an actual conversation with them, and keep trying to reach them. Don't get mad at them. Because any certain set of circumstances in anyone's life could have led them to believe and act in a certain way.
Yeah.
And so you've got to think that they just might not have it. It might not even cross their mind, or they need to see it more.
Yeah.
And you can't convince anyone of anything by arguing with them.
Yeah. But like asking them.
I think. But I was just going to say that we have to be willing to have conversations with people who don't agree with us, even people that are really aggressive about it. I mean, if somebody's a total fucking asshole, then there's no point. But I think learning to recognize when someone at least is willing to converse, even if they're really passionate about their argument, is extremely important. Because anytime that I've decided to communicate with someone along those lines, at the very least, you open their eyes up a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know, just by being willing to have a conversation. Because again, it's so easy to say, "Oh, these people are idiots. These people are assholes." They don't want to, because people that are on that side of the spectrum too feel like there's this extremist thing. These people are idiots, and the more you can kind of have this neutral conversation and just say, well, this is my perspective. This is what I see, what's going on. Here's all this information that I have that you probably don't have. And they're like, oh yeah, well, I didn't know about that, or I didn't think about it in that way. And like most things, unfortunately, that's the slow, painful way, but that's typically the only way to really do it, or else you're going to create the opposite problem that you're trying to fix.
Oh man, it's just hard to like reach just the average person sometimes.
You've also got to set an example too. Just be unwavering in what you believe in.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. If there's things that you don't think you should be doing, then don't compromise on them.
Yeah.
You know, you got to stick true to that.
Yeah. Did you guys watch Tim Pool's show?
I see him. I don't watch like all of them, but I've seen a lot of his stuff.
Yeah, because he had this interesting debate with Jack Murphy on, and it was about Jack Murphy had his son in football, and they were mandating his kid to play football. They're mandating the vaccine on his kid so he can play football, and there was this sort of like Tim's point was just that like you have to sort of draw a line in the sand at some point. I mean, and Jack was just sort of like, you know, he sees the importance of football, that it's good for his kid, but like he was almost succumbing to the idea of just like letting his kid being vaccinated. I mean, if you guys are in that situation, like, would you guys just have your line in the sand and say, I'm just going to take my kid out of football, or just have him do it, and you would say no?
Yeah, I wouldn't do it.
I would, yeah, because I think like a lot of things, you can look at just that situation and say, well, it's not that big a thing. But unfortunately, everything that's not that big a thing is what led us to the thing we're in now. All of this, no matter how big or small, is either helping or resisting that situation. And again, that's like the cumulative effect of all this stuff is everyone thinks it's not that big a deal, and I'm just going to go along this time, and that has created this tidal wave of corruption and power with everything. So I believe that you really do have to just make a stand. Like there's nothing you can go along with, and again, the more we have these kind of resources to not keep contributing to these companies and people who are pushing these vaccines and stuff on people, the better. Because at some point you don't really have a choice. Like if I have to go shopping, I have to go shopping. If I got to get food, I got to get food. But the more that you can't refuse to go along, especially if it's something where it's like, hey, I'm sorry, you can't play fucking football.
Yeah.
What do you want from me?
Yeah, I mean,
but I mean that's always of course a personal decision, and I would never demonize someone because they are. What are you gonna do?
Yeah,
I don't demonize anyone that chooses to go along with this. I don't assume to have the right answer.
Yeah. It's weird. Yeah. Anyways, I guess let's kind of move on, because there was this debate that that was posted a few days ago between Dave Rubin and Gloria Allred, and I think I was watching it, and I think it perfectly kind of just encompasses like the division that people have. Like I said earlier, it's people that are just worried about a broader issue of just freedom in general, and the other side just can't wrap their head around it, and they go on a you're morally bad kind of tip. So I was thinking maybe we could play that so we can where is it? There it is. If you can see the title. But yeah.
Governor Newsom announced that California kids all be required to be vaccinated once it gets FDA approval. Let's talk about that and more with Gloria Allred on the left and Dave Rubin on the right, debating each other for the first time. All right, Dave, let's start with you. I know this is an issue you're especially passionate about. What do you make of California's vaccine mandates?
Oh, it's completely ridiculous, like the federal vaccine mandates are. To be very clear, I think that if anyone wants to get the vaccine and they want to wear a mask and they want to stay at home or whatever it is that they want to do, you absolutely have that right, and you should consult with your doctor, and you should take into account your age and your health and medical history, all of those things. The idea that a year and a half after 2 weeks to flatten the curve, a phrase that we don't talk about anymore. Did we ever flatten the curve? Why don't we talk about that curve anymore? The idea that now it's about some sort of magical, as Joe Biden said, which is what Gavin Newsom's alluding to, it's about some sort of 97 or 98% government mandated vaccine. And then for kids, kids have a 0.002% chance of dying from COVID. That is CDC numbers as of March. Everyone else is getting vaccinated, in essence. So the teachers are vaccinated, the administrators are vaccinated. We know kids aren't sharing it with each other. This is just constant government overreach. And where are the good liberals? California is supposed to be a liberal state. Liberals used to fight for individual rights and civil liberties, but they've just folded in the name of progressive authoritarianism.
Yeah, see, I mean, Dave's pretty fair, just talking about broader issues. And I mean, you'll see like Gloria Allred's just response, and she just doesn't want to address that point. And it's shit like this that like just annoys people like me.
Gloria, are you a good liberal?
I'm a progressive, proud progressive, I might add, but I also believe in science. And this is really not about rights, it's about life and death. And of course, kids can also be carriers of COVID. And in addition to that, I think it's really important to understand this is not a political issue. It shouldn't be. It should be a scientific and a health issue. And I ask you, Dave, do you think there should not be a mandate for kids in schools to have to get vaccine for chickenpox, for mumps, for polio, for so many other vaccines that they are required to have in order
Gloria,
to go to school?
All of those things were tested.
See, I mean, she just can't understand what point he's
I
trying
don't
to
think
make.
there should be mandates for those things.
About with chickenpox and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, people are educated on it. If they want to have that for their children, then they should get it. But if they don't, it's I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, like the biggest thing with a lot of this stuff is people are always trying to compare these things that are not comparable. You can't compare any vaccine to this vaccine.
No, you can't.
It's impossible. So you immediately, I think, discredit yourself by even trying to compare those things because they're not the same.
Yeah.
They're not even remotely the
No,
same
they're not.
ballpark.
Yeah.
I was speaking in like I don't believe that there should be a law for seatbelts. I mean,
yeah, I think that's the stupidest shit of all time. How can you if it's not hurting anybody else, like what I do with my own body is my own choice. So, but I can drink and eat and smoke all I fucking want, and you don't give a fuck because you're making millions of dollars off of this, and you want to have a seatbelt law so you can get more money off of bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If all this stuff was about health, then we would address people's health, but they haven't done that one single time this entire pandemic. They haven't addressed a single thing that has to do with health.
Yeah, that's
not yet.
I don't think they ever will. That like
of course they won't, because that health doesn't make them money.
Yeah,
people sick make some money.
Yeah, self-responsibility
people
seems
reliant to make some
really
money.
Taboo. Let's play a little longer.
I mean, that's such a important conversation. But then, as soon as you say that, we're like, oh, but these things are contagious. Well, obesity is contagious. So sickness is contagious. Poverty is contagious.
Yeah.
Everything's contagious. What we surround ourselves with affects us. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be a deadly disease. Everything influences everything that we do. But again, they just want to highlight little pieces that fit your argument, and that isn't even the same argument whatsoever.
Yeah. Let's continue.
As we know, we rushed out this vaccination, but this is not, I'm not saying people should not get vaccinated. I'm saying it should be left up to choice. But you just said something very, very dangerous right there for a lawyer. This is not about rights. Since when is it not about rights? In the United States, we have God-given rights that are protected under the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And if we're suddenly saying, oh, this isn't about rights because there is some virus out there with basically a 99% recovery rate, and I just gave you the CDC numbers for children. Yes, children could transmit the disease, although they rarely do, but the parents are all vaccinated if they're good, decent citizens. So I don't really understand the connection, actually.
Are you a good, decent citizen? Are you vaccinated?
It's nobody's business whether I'm vaccinated. That's like me asking you the last time you got laid. I mean, it's just irrelevant.
All right. So
I was going to say the same thing, too.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. But do people like this, like, realize, like, you don't sound... Like, you have to, like, be inviting and pleasant to win people onto your side, but she just comes off super... like arrogant and snobby, and like I don't see how the other side doesn't see that. It's weird.
Yeah, well, I feel that more and more people are, because of that fact, because of their only argument is shaming people, and
yeah, it's
using kind of those same talking points and those same analogies, but all that is on emptiness. It's all falling apart, and the more information that comes out, the more people that are questioning this, the more people are realizing that something isn't what it appears to be.
Yeah.
And it is really difficult to not argue back, because when someone does get aggressive like that, especially when they're saying stupid shit that doesn't make any fucking sense,
yeah.
How do I talk to an idiot? Because you can't with someone like that. Yeah. So it's kind of pointless to try. And again, you can't win an argument with a stupid person.
Yeah.
So by trying to just be stupider, it doesn't really help. So again, especially when you're on a platform like that, is continually to just share the actual information, and what this is, as opposed to what they led you to believe it was at the beginning, because so many people's brains almost got hijacked in the beginning because they pumped so much of that shit in people's brains that people are still behaving as if it is what they said it was in the beginning. It almost put a stop on people's thought process. Like they can't even absorb any information, because it's like, oh, everybody's gonna die.
Yeah.
Like, all right, well, now we're like 2 years down the road, and clearly that's not the case. So maybe we should talk a little bit more about what is and isn't the case.
It feels like this conversation, like this sort of debate, is sort of kind of crossed into like similar to like the gun debate. Like people are just talking about broader aspects of like kind of more individualist kind of aspects of it, and the other side just can't get over the scary death part of it, and they sort of leech onto that.
It's very easy to appeal to people's hearts and like, hey, this is happening, and if these weren't here, this wouldn't be happening, even though that's not accurate. And it's easy to, I think, skew people's perspective when you highlight this one aspect, because they're not looking at the broader picture. They're not looking at what this is going to lead to, what this means for other things, how we don't do that with other things. Like, you can't pick and choose how you want to use like one life is too many argument, because you don't do that with everything. You can't just say, I only want to do it with this.
Let's continue.
So, what's really relevant is that it's one thing if you have the right to choose for your
medical history is not your business, nor yours is mine.
Let Gloria finish.
If you have the right to choose what you should do with your own body, I respect that. But when what you choose to do can be dangerous to others, then we're in a whole different area. And so, for example, people are mandated to wear seatbelts when they drive. Why? Because if they get into an accident, it's not only going to be dangerous to them, it's going to be dangerous to others. People can smoke, knowing the danger and the risks of smoking, but they can't just put secondary smoke into somebody else's apartment or home or, smoke, in places where it can be very dangerous to other individuals. That's what this is about. And by the way, even for your own choice, if you exercise your choice not to get a vaccine, you get to do that. But you also have to pay the consequences of that. And the consequences may be that you're not going to be able to have a job anymore. The consequences may be that you're going to end up in the hospital with serious COVID and you may die. And because you're overloading the ICUs in the hospital, people who need care for cancer or heart disease or other illnesses may not be able to get a bed because you were irresponsible in not getting the vaccine.
Gloria, frankly.
Yeah, but how... Jesus Christ, when is it too far for this fucking decide? I don't want people getting fired.
I think the way that she said that should horrify anybody.
Yeah.
Because if you are okay with that happening for one reason or another, it's just a matter of time before you're doing something that they decide isn't what, you should be doing.
Yeah.
Because eventually that's going to happen. It's just like anytime you are an advocate for censoring people, that's just immediately saying that you are approving censoring yourself.
Yeah.
Because at some point you're going to say something that doesn't match up because there's nobody that agrees on everything.
Yeah.
So and these things will trickle down and people need to think them through.
Yeah, but she's dismissing the idea of personal choice, and it's weird that she just doesn't see what she's doing. It's just bizarre.
She knows what she's doing.
Or you know what I mean,
It's
or maybe you're right.
It's like the peer pressure. It's you don't take this, you're not cool like the rest of us. You can't go to your theme park or.
Yeah, it's high school kind of shit. Yeah.
High school, yeah. It's peer pressure. Take these drugs, man. Come on.
Yeah. You can wear this, yeah.
Hey guys, I actually gotta jump off of here.
All right, man.
It was nice talking to you guys.
I gotta get going too.
All right. Well, all right. See you guys.
All right. See you, man.
Later.
I see it.
First, I'll come off. All right. Let's just kind of finish the video.
Okay.
It's very obvious to me that you're a progressive because what lies under every progressive is a really sort of hysterical authoritarian.
Well,
Everyone
that's
is
a
allowed to make
sexist
a decision for themselves. Here, we're in Los Angeles right now. I was just over at the studio that I couldn't get into over there. Which hospitals in Los Angeles are overrun right now?
Yeah. Look, let me just tell you something. First of all, you made a sexist remark. Calling a...
Did he?
No, he just called her an authoritarian.
That's...
And she just
that's sexist.
Conflated that as yeah. Well, when somebody can't win an argument, that's what they do. They just throw out those random ad hominems.
Yeah.
So that's what she did right there. She couldn't win the argument, so she just accused them of being a sexist.
Yeah, it's weird that if someone called you an authoritarian, I would take offense to that, but I wouldn't disregard it and say, "Oh, you're being sexist." You're questioning other things. It's very dystopian that she didn't take offense to authoritarian. She just lumped it up with being some kind of sexist thing. How could she not? God, I don't like this woman at all.
Yeah, it's just a tactic that people use.
Yeah.
These evil people use. Well, the one thing I went is the video still
it's still going.
not over. Okay, let's watch the rest then.
It's a little bit more.
A woman hysterical is very, very sexist. So I think you should stay on the issues instead of engaging in name calling. Look, we've had surges, we've had ups,
Well, in
we've had
essence, you were telling
down
me I was
in
gonna kill people,
California.
but all right.
We don't need to wait for the point at which there is a crisis, as is going on in many, many states where there are no ICU beds available and people have to drive miles and miles to another state to even get an ICU bed. Some people have died before they got there.
How true is this? What she's saying? Like, I've heard people mention this shit, but just never seen any proof of this. Like this extreme shit.
I have no idea. It just sounds like fear mongering. Just kind of like.
Yeah.
To me, I don't know. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the researchers for this show can show me the videos of all the overrun hospitals that nobody has seen. There's been no pictures of them and no videos of them. But again, I'm not for people getting sick. I'm for choice. I believe people can make the right medical choices for themselves. I mean, really, if we go down this route where you have to do things for your health and to make sure that hospitals don't get overrun, there's going to be an awful lot of bad things we're going to have to do to overweight people, because as you know, being overweight and being diabetic is one of the biggest factors in COVID morbidity.
99% of the people.
Are we suddenly going to say that overweight people should be what? Are we going to force them to diet? Are we going to not give them health insurance?
99.
A good point you made.
90% of the people who were in the critical care and the ICU beds are unvaccinated people. That alone should tell you why people need to get vaccinated. And also, children, even if there is a small risk for the younger children right now, they can be carriers and bring it home to their parents and their grandparents and many, many others. We've got to protect ourselves.
Do you believe the vaccine works?
What a weird thing to say, though. She said, even if there's a small chance that kids, like, shouldn't that be the reasoning why you should and shouldn't mandate anything, whether the risk is there or not?
Mm-hmm.
It's, what a weird thing to fucking say. Like, it's like she doesn't even understand her own, like, where she's going with this.
I'm confused.
Pandemic.
First off, I'd like somebody to fact check the 99% of hospitals are unvaccinated.
Well, go for it.
But Gloria, if you believe the vaccine works, so these kids that I would not force, it's up to the parent to decide, how would they be getting the parent sick if the vaccine works and the parents are vaccinated?
Well, because there is still
she didn't know how to answer that.
a risk that they can get COVID. If they're vaccinated, they are less likely to end up in the ICU and die. Most people who are unvaccinated have a much higher risk of ending up in the ICU and dying.
Let me try to put a button on this and start where this conversation started, which was the question that I asked Governor Newsom, which is, how does this end? And what is the benchmark for some of this to stop?
Do you think she's going to have an answer to this, or you're just going to conflate nothing? I have no idea.
No, she's just going to, like, either that or change the subject and, like, call the other guy.
I'm predicting,
racist or sexist.
I'm thinking some kind of name-calling shit that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So let's see what happens.
Dave, your thought on that?
Yeah, it doesn't end. In a place like California, where we've elected people that really enjoy this power, which is why Gavin Newsom is always smiling as he's telling you about all the lockdowns. And when he was at the school this morning telling you about, mandating vaccines for kids, but not for teachers and not for prison guards, which is what he did yesterday. It doesn't end in a place like this because this isn't really about a virus. I would say it's about a mind virus related to controlling people, but it probably doesn't end here. Again, 2 weeks to flatten the curve was a year and a half ago. Now it's 98%, and then maybe we'll let you get back to normal. This is human nature. It will always move. Now we're being told kids might spread it to adults who are vaccinated. Do you see how this thing keeps moving?
Dave, all I can tell you is this, that there are many conservative radio talk show hosts, and feel free to fact check that, who were anti-vax and gave the same script lines that you've been giving about, okay, it's your
I never said
individual
I was
choice and all
anti-vax.
that. And as they were dying in the ICU, they begged for the vaccine. It was too late for them. And they urged everyone, please, get the vaccine, because they admitted they were wrong not to get it.
Again, I never said that I'm anti-vax. Everyone should make whatever choice is right for themselves. But I would say listen to some of the NBA players over the last couple of days who are taking a brave stand by saying, you know, we're young, healthy people. Maybe we've got COVID before and we have natural antibodies. Why aren't we allowed to talk about any of that stuff? And instead we have to say, oh, government.
About it. That's why you saw them on television and heard them. They are talking about it, but they're not scientists, and good luck to them. You know, that's a ridiculous. It's a very unsafe choice as far as I'm concerned.
All right. I guess we're going to have to leave it there because we're out of time. I guess they're not coming together on this issue, but
but I'd love to dance with you, together with you one day, Dave, on Alex's show.
I will gladly dance with you regardless of vaccination status.
Well, no, I won't dance with you if you're unvaccinated. I don't want to be anywhere near you. Thank you very much.
I did not say whether I was or was not.
Well, you'll have to show me proof of vax before we dance.
Let's leave it
See,
there.
I was like, that was clever
that's
in
a
her
sign of
part.
where we are as a country right now. But at the
like threw that out there.
God, just how unlikable is she though, man? Fuck.
Yeah.
Damn. All right. God. Oh my God, but you know, I really don't understand like why people like Gloria Allred so much. Because like I've seen her in other shit before, and she always comes off just really terrible. Like if I was on the pro-vax side, I would be annoyed that they had my position be like represented by her, because she offered nothing. Bitch. All right. All right. I guess we can start ending the test live stream for today.
Yeah.
All right.
Now,
go ahead.
Or because I keep stopping because you kind of keep lagging.
Oh yeah.
Like a
oh
little
shit.
bit. Yeah. I think it's just like, I guess because it's live streaming, I think that's why there's like a little bit more lag than normal. I was just gonna say like one last thing, because I don't think I was able to get this or respond to this. I think when you were talking about earlier about, I don't want to say, because I think all of us, especially that are here or that have been on the podcast, have gotten to a point where they feel frustrated that they can't get across to some of their friends, some of the people. Because I'm still friends with a lot of these people. I may disagree with a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Just about like most of my friends, like 90%, 99%. But I'm still gonna be friends with them. I'm still gonna work with them. That's not a problem. But I think the best thing to do is not try to convince them, but try to listen to them, because a lot of it, even though most of us, like, we understand like their point of view, I think it's important for us to let them know, like for them to feel that we actually know what it is that they're thinking. Like people need to feel that they're understood before they actually start listening to you.
Yeah.
If you just start like, oh, well, stop being so stupid, like listen to me, like that's like, that's not right. Like you need to like listen to these guys. Like I've sort of like been somewhat successful a little bit, like with just listening to other people and like repeating what it is their stance is on certain issues, and just being able to repeat, even just repeating their stances doesn't mean that you agree with them. It just means that it sets it up that you understand what it is, where they stand in with certain issues. And if you're able to like reflect that onto them, they're going to be, oh, okay, well, this guy actually understands like what I'm talking about. Like, yes, I'm into social justice. I care about people's health. I don't want people to die. If you can repeat that to them and like let them know that they're understood, they're going to be more likely to eventually